We're here. We're live. I think. All right. Welcome into Buffalo Plus. Dan Fetes, Mike Catalana. Dan is still on cloud nine after the Atlanta Braves winning the World Series. I'm Jenna Cottrell. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff. Talk a little bit about who the Bills will be playing this upcoming Sunday, but we're going to talk mostly, well, not mostly, but a lot to get into. Even though, this is a game that Bills are 14-point favorites. Dan, Mike, there are a lot of things to discuss, especially in Jacksonville with what's going on.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Of course, this Bills team as they get ready for Sunday.
Yeah, it was interesting to hear Urban Meyer say they've looked at Buffalo as a place to build, and then he proceeds to do the opposite of everything the Bills people have done. We can talk about Urban Meyer in a little bit, but yeah, it's a mess down there with them, where they should be on the upswing, whether they were getting wins or not. They're not that way right now.
No, and this is a weird week, Jenna, as we talked about. We were texting back and forth throughout the day, trying to find, the inside baseball is trying to find the show that has some flow to it, that kind of goes in sequential order. This show doesn't have a lot of flow, is what Jenna told me, to which I responded, this game doesn't have a ton of flow. like Josh Allen did his weekly press conference. It went longer than usual, probably about 15 minutes, Jenna. And like 6 minutes of that was about the Manningcast. He was asked one question about Jacksonville's defense, and it was about the player that's also named Josh Allen. That was the level of how weird this week is gone.
Yeah.
So it's I wouldn't say this is a very high stress game.
Yeah.
This is kind of, as we joked last week, it's not just a bye week. The Bills kind of have a bye month. So we're trying to make this interesting for everybody, guys. We're trying to live it up.
We're going to have some fun with this. We're going to get into some storylines too that we don't always talk about, because I feel like we have the ability to do that right now. And of course, we're not saying like, hey, the Bills are not preparing for this game on Sunday. It's nothing of the sort, but this is Dan. Don't you dare. But no, I think this Bills team is obviously one, Mike, that's trending in the right direction. And this is a game that should go well. So we can talk about other things.
Yep. Yeah. We thought that a little bit last week, but that was a division game, a little bit different. This is non-division.
Yeah. This Dolphins team, or that Dolphins team too, is more talented than a Jacksonville team.
Yeah.
I would say.
Yeah. By the way, Dan, a lot of people wondering why you're not wearing Braves attire so far.
Oh, you know what? I've kind of worn it all out. I don't think I've taken it off for like 24 hours. So.
And I was on the radio today, and everyone noticed the video that we showed of you celebrating and the amount of Jenny lights that were on the table.
There were a couple. I forgot that those were in the video.
Well, it was noticed.
Yeah. Shout out to Genesee Brewery. They are the best. Fan favorite.
They made sure you were well taken care of. What are you looking at? You can't wait. You're finding your next spot though for some Atlanta Braves World Series gear.
There's a Genesee beer sign there. Jenna got me another Genesee beer sign up there. Yeah. Got it all covered.
What does it say? I remember for Dan's birthday when we worked together in Elmira, I had never had a Jenny beer in my life. I went to the gas station to get him 2 tall boys, and they rang me up and they're like, "That'll be $2.50." And I was like, "No, I have 2 beers." And they're like, "Yeah, no, I know." I was like, what is Dan drinking?
Jenna, like you aren't at the gas station buying tall boys all the time.
We bought tall boys in Nashville, actually.
We did, yes. I sent Jenna in, and she came back with the tall boys.
Show up to the show for the Bills analysis. Stay for the Genesee beer and blue light tall boy analysis.
That's it.
Okay. All right, we are going to start the show. We're going to take a very quick little break. We're going to start the show as we get ready as the Bills facing off against the Jaguars this weekend. So, all right, I'm going to roll the open in 3, 2. You guys didn't laugh at my 3, 2, 1. All right, I'm rolling it.
Buffalo Plus, your interactive look at the week in football, brought to you by Connors and Ferris.
All right, welcome into Buffalo Plus, presented by Connors and Ferris. Mike Catalana, Dan Fetes. I am Jenna Cottrell. The Bills getting ready to head down to Jacksonville this weekend to face off against the Jags. But we're entering week 9 of the NFL season. We're about halfway through. Mike, what do you make of this team as we kind of hit that halfway point in the season?
You know what's really interesting? The Bills are coming off a not a great finish in Nashville, then a week off, then not a great game against Miami. And all of a sudden, they moved right back as the favorite in the AFC to go to the Super Bowl. And I kept thinking, did everybody else just drop down a little? I still think the Bills are the best team in the AFC. I do believe, like we all do, that this team's going to go to the Super Bowl this year. But they haven't played in that way that you're going, oh, yeah, no doubt. I mean, Dan, when you look at last week, you're like 17-11, Miami's got the ball, and things had not been going well. So it was a game. It was absolutely a game, even in the second half. Oh, don't give me that look. You know it was a game in the second half.
Yeah, it was a game in the second half. The Bills went on to win and cover the 2-touchdown spread for those people that care. But Mike, it wasn't that long ago. And now it's weird because now you look at how things have changed, that when the Bills, I thought, played a nearly perfect game in Kansas City. Mike, you and I were there. And then all of a sudden, one play in Nashville and then a bye week and kind of a lackluster game in Miami. And all of a sudden it's like, well, are there some problems? Yes, the Bills are not playing their best football. Defense, kind of coming along. Offense, better in the red zone last week against Miami. But I hear what you're saying. It almost is just that it's that good and the bad where you sometimes are a prisoner in the moment, Jenna, of that week-to-week league.
Yeah. Wow. Week-to-week league, hitting it off with the cliches. But no, you bring up the point. And I think also this week we get to see like the star power of this team in terms of, Josh Allen being on the Manningcast, getting to talk to Peyton and Eli. And Mike, I mean, that there was some cool moments in that. And Josh talked about the opportunity to do it. He said, he just did his job after the Monday night game. But I think fans got to see, nationally speaking, once again, Allen and kind of that star power that he brings.
Yeah, I mean, that show has been great. Obviously, if he wants to come on something big, he can come on Buffalo Plus Live. But we'll work on that with Josh. But in terms of that, this is what he was doing, right? This is him on there with Peyton and Eli. I love the show. But to your point, who's been on that show? The stars, right? I mean, Kelsey and Russell Wilson and certainly Tom Brady, like those kind of guys. And Josh on there, Dan, he did say that he wasn't going to give any sound bites, and I think he lived up to that.
Yeah, I thought he was good. He wasn't great. I thought it was amusing. But as Josh said, he didn't want to be the star of the show. He wanted to let Peyton and Eli do their thing, but I thought it was still funny. I thought to get to see a little bit of that side. And like I said, Josh is so calculated at press conferences and so well rehearsed. And I mean that in a good way, as a franchise quarterback should be. He doesn't fly off the cuff. He doesn't give too many sound bites. Like Mike said, it's a lot of, if the question's about a defense or a player, it's I gotta be better. We gotta be better. I thought it was funny when he talks about crushing blue lights with Peyton and Kelsey and Mahomes. It was funny to know that, you got to see a little bit of that generosity side. We know what he's doing with Oshai Children's Hospital, but to give Peyton's son a signed game-worn jersey, that was cool. I liked it. And again, like you said, Jenna, the fact that he was picked says a lot. And Emmanuel Sanders, who is no stranger to hanging out with Peyton Manning and playing with him, said this about his showing at the Manningcast.
Peyton putting his stamp on Josh, man, that's huge because I know how Peyton is. And for, Marshall, his son, to love Josh, man, that speaks volume, because I know how Peyton rolls, and it was good to see him. I saw just a segment, I think, where he said that Marshall had the Jay Allen jersey on. I thought that was funny, and it just speaks volumes, man. I talk so highly of Josh all the time, and I've been around a long time, and I've seen a lot of quarterbacks. And, man, this guy's special, and everybody sees he's special, but I mean the stuff that I see is just ridiculous.
Yeah, the stuff he sees is ridiculous. That's cool. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. And he said that from the beginning, right? Remember, he talked about it in training camp, just some of the throws. And Allen has been that guy. And I really do think it goes on brand with Josh Allen. We've talked about it. He's gone from the rookie coming in, third string, with his semi-issue right when he got drafted, the whole social media thing, to then becoming the starter, but not really earning it. He's sort of Nate Peterman, the starting job, and then to becoming the starter, then becoming the guy. Dan, at every level, this guy has handled it the right way. He really has.
And he's had to learn how to be, I don't want to say a celebrity, but a high profile player. And he's had to take that on. To be on the Manningcast means you are a face of the NFL. That's not just the face of a franchise. There are a lot of faces of franchise that don't go on ESPN2 during a Monday night game where they want to talk about your life and how you've played. It's a big jump, and it's something that I think Josh is still growing into. I still think he loves to do his charity work. He likes to do a lot of things behind the scenes. He says he doesn't like to go out to bars and clubs. He's not that kind of guy. But it was really cool to get to see this and to see him continue to elevate outside of Buffalo to a national stage.
Well, I think too, Mike, you mentioned it was on brand for Josh Allen. I think now that another guy that comes to mind is we got to talk to Stephon Diggs this week. And I feel like when Diggs was coming out of Minnesota, it was like, of course, we talked about that diva tag. What would he be like? What would the culture change with the Bills with Stephon Diggs added to the mix? Obviously, that hasn't been the case. But this week, I feel like every week we talk to him, he reminds me a little of Emmanuel Sanders, where he drops that wisdom. And, we got to talk to him this week, and he said how his philosophy has changed over the years. And he had a lot of insight about the maturity of this team and how he's played a piece in that. Here's what Diggs had to say.
I used to be a tough love guy, you know what I'm saying? Because I used to be like that with my little brothers, but I feel like I had to take a step back from being that way just because it's not all about tough love. You know what I'm saying? You kind of got to love up on people sometimes, and you don't understand how hard the battle is for them. Like something that I can handle, somebody else might not be able to handle. You know what I'm saying? So being responsible, and I feel like taking care of your mental, take care of your chicken, as Marshawn would say, it's smart for you and it's good for you. It's good for you. It's good for your family. It's good for your surroundings, because when you're in a bad headspace and you're at your job and you kind of not in the best place, you might not be your best self. You know what I'm saying? And when you're not your best self, you're not helping nobody.
Yeah, taking care of your chickens. And, we heard Josh Allen say earlier this season how much Diggs has been that guy in the huddle, Dan, to settle him down, especially before big plays or big drives.
Yeah, and he was asked just about how other players around the league, the OBJ situation, Calvin Ridley, and just kind of mental health. And you talked about how he sounds a little bit like Emmanuel Sanders. Mike, to me, he drops some wisdom. It seems like every week in a different delivery, but with the wisdom of a Lorenzo Alexander, in my opinion. Yeah. It's knowledge. Jenna and I were joking that he was just preaching to us, that it was like you almost wanted Stephon Diggs to be your life coach, because that was how eloquent and well-spoken and how well he conveyed the message of mental health and being in a good headspace.
You know what I like that he does is, he's the kind of guy we could talk to every day. He doesn't really talk after games. Even if he has a great game, that's not him. He talks, he's a Wednesday guy. He's an elevated guy, right? He's one of the stars, but he actually listens to the questions. He answers the questions. His answers are usually better than the questions. And he's thoughtful in the way he talks. And that's a sign of maturity too. I think he says, this is the moments I'm going to do this. And he comes across like, if you didn't know anything about him, you'd like him right away. The fact that he's a great player, helps. Because you want to listen to him. And I think he's been influenced by the culture in Buffalo. I really do think he has, but I think he's played a big part in making it better, because he's a guy who was already a good player who came from the outside, saw what was there, and he's been fantastic.
Yeah, he has. And I feel like there's so many guys on this roster that have added that mature piece. I mean, there's a lot of up and coming guys. And, we speak of up-and-coming guys like Tyler Bass earning, Player of the Month, AFC Special Teams Player of the Month. And Dan, this is a guy entering his second year.
Yeah, and the team speaks of him like he's a 10-year veteran with the leg of Justin Tucker and the confidence and the calm, cool composure of Tom Brady. And they call him a football player. That's just how I've never heard of star players talk so highly about a kicker and call him a football player. We know what the stereotype of a kicker is. And we got to sit down and talk with Tyler Bass this week and just get to ask him what it's like when you have a team have this much confidence in you. And this is what he said.
It means a lot, the Bills have a unreal tradition. They have a lot of history and just a really good organization. So being a part of that is like a dream for mine. But I know what comes with that is you have to come to work every day. And just because you had a good game one game doesn't mean you're going to have a good game the other game. You have to come into work every day, and you're only as good as your next kick. And what happened in the past is in the past. Take the confidence from it and apply that moving forward.
Yeah, he has been that reliable guy for Buffalo in terms of special teams. And we are not done yet. Coming up after the break is Jacksonville. Have they found their guy in Trevor Lawrence? We'll have the take on him as well as what Urban Meyer is doing. We'll have that coming up. Okay.
Looking
We are
here
in
for
a
some-
commercial break.
Yes.
We are 2 minutes heavy inside baseball.
That's all right. Rick Rarick. I know a Rick Rarick. I wonder if it's the same Rick Rarick saying after the long field goal early in the game on Sunday, saw Diggs come out. Diggs talked about that too.
Yeah, that he pretty much runs out onto the field. He has a special handshake. We always talk about Josh Allen's handshake with the wide receivers. Diggs has a handshake with Tyler Bass.
It's cool.
And after the goal was kicked, I kind of followed Tyler Bass off the field, and they were getting ready for the kickoff. And I think Diggs forgot and then ran out like into the huddle of the special teams to pull him aside and do the handshake.
That's pretty cool. Like you said, Dan, too, like we talk so much about how obviously kickers are a part of the team, but like to be called a football player by the rest of your team, it might sound weird to some people, but like that is high praise from the guys around him.
Well, I kept thinking that like they kept saying he's a football player. He's not a kicker, he's a football player. And I kept thinking we got to sit down with him this week, and the story will be coming out soon on the Buffalo Plus YouTube channel. But I kept thinking that maybe he was a wide receiver or a quarterback that converted into a kicker. No, he was a soccer player. And then just wanted to play football because his mama had told him about, maybe he should be kicking. So like this guy's a kicker through and through, but just has a swag of a wide receiver.
Yeah. How about McDermott saying, I don't think I understand the one eye black.
And Jenna, he explained it to us.
He did, and it was a.
Do you want to save it for the story?
Well, Jenna, you knew it before we talked to him.
I did, but I also.
She got inside information.
No, well, it was a story that really resonated with me, so that's why I was like, okay,
we'll save it.
We'll wait for the story. All right, we're gonna take a quick break, and by that I mean you're just gonna stare at our faces for like 2 seconds.
This is awesome.
Love it. Okay, hold on. Okay. All right. In 3, 2. Thanks for hanging with us, folks. All right, welcome back to the Buffalo Plus show presented by Connors and Ferris, Mike Catalana, Dan Fetes, Jenna Cottrell. Let's keep it rolling because we talked about the Bills. Now let's talk about their opponent in Jacksonville. Mike, what have you seen so far from Trevor Lawrence?
I think he's a super talented player. I think he's more ready for the NFL than his head coach is, and I think that's caused them problems. I really do. I think this guy is what you want physically in a quarterback. He's got the long flowing hair to go with it. And it's just such a bad circumstance there. And it got off to a bad start, but he's been okay. He's thrown interceptions. It's funny. Real analysts, like people who study quarterbacks, love what they see out of the guy. He doesn't have the results yet, but I'll make a comparison, to even like a Troy Aikman who came in the league with a college head coach. That team went 1-15. Aikman was not good as a rookie. Stats were bad. And eventually the team got straightened out and he showed his talent and he's in the Hall of Fame. So I think he's that kind of guy.
Yeah, I thought kind of comparison to the fact of just what Josh Allen went through, where when he came in as a rookie, the team was not ready to win. The pieces weren't around him. And this week, Josh was asked what he would say to Trevor about dealing with some of these growing pains.
Yeah, we also got to talk, or we heard from Trevor Lawrence about what he sees in Josh Allen, how he identifies with him, and how he kind of looks up to Allen as a role model.
Looks like he has fun out there, makes plays, and that's a guy that I look at. We're similar, I think, in traits. He's a lot bigger than me, but just someone that I look at that I can pull things from, just what he does well. And I think that's been someone that's been cool to watch. And we had one of the same trainers, Jordan Palmer. So I've kind of seen him around, met him, talked to him, and I think he does a really good job.
You see a lot of poise from that type of guy.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because when you look at head coach, it seems, Mike, like it's a different situation.
Look, Urban Meyer is a successful, wildly successful college coach, and he is. But he's always known as a big ego guy. And look, they all have big egos, right? It comes out in different ways. And I don't mean that it's not always in a bad way. Like, they're confident. All these coaches are. I mean, Sean McDermott is extremely confident in what he does. He just knows how to handle it. He knows how to deal with people. He's learned. He has evolved. The circumstances in Jacksonville, I think they hired a guy who had done a ton in college and now was like, look, if I'm going to make my jump, I'm going to come here with the quarterback and do it that way. And he thought he could just do it the Urban Meyer way. And I talked to a reporter in Jacksonville. His name is Chris Porter. He's been there more than 10 years. I think he said 13 years covering the Jags. And he's seen it way up and way down, because when the Bills played their first playoff game, remember, it was against the Jags. That team should have gone to the Super Bowl. So they have been good at times. But I asked him about what's going on with this team, what's going on with Urban Meyer. Here's what he had to say.
I just feel like Urban is beginning to be that guy that fans are becoming tired of already. We understand nobody is downplaying how bad this roster is. Nobody is downplaying that we knew it was going to take a couple of years to get this franchise turned around. But at the same time, nobody ever thought that we looked this bad. That was the worst game this past Sunday that I've seen the Jags play, Mike, in a long, long time. And I've seen some bad football.
Yeah, he's seen some bad football. We talked about the similarities between the franchises. Actually, if you get a second, it's on the Buffalo Plus YouTube channel. We talked a lot about how Jacksonville, plays in London. The Bills used to play in Toronto, how Jacksonville's small market. How they had a difficult time getting players, all that. And now you look at the franchises and you say, wow, one of them finally figured it out. The other one had those moments and has gone in the wrong direction now.
Yeah, no, it's very true. And getting ready for the game, let's take a quick look at the Bills injury report. This is presented by UR Medicine, Sports Medicine. A lot of names on that list. Obviously, it's a situation where the Bills have been pretty lucky, but at the same point, with it being Jacksonville, Dan, what do you make of maybe the team having some guys get a little more rest than maybe expected?
Yeah. I think the Poyer one popped up out of nowhere earlier this week. So that was kind of that's slightly concerning because we just don't know when that happened or what happened. But again, if there's a week that you could kind of take off, it might be these next two.
All right. Well, coming up at the end of the day, we're going to hear more as Mike gets ready to do his mic drop. We'll have it on the phrases the Bills love to say and why we love them too. We'll have that coming up after the break. At the end of the day. Okay. Sorry.
Cliche Catalana coming up
That's
next.
Braves, you're getting congratulations.
Can I just say one thing? Because I know I got dogged on during one of our podcasts where I came on and I was like, well, I'm not a Bills fan. And people were like, oh, like no longer like Dan because he's not a Bills fan. It's my job. It's what I cover. I root for the team to win for stories. Big J journalist. Our job is better when the Bills win. But when it comes to like Mike, you're a Philly guy. You have your teams that you root for before you got into your profession. For me, I was a Braves fan since I was 6-7 years old. I never really had an NFL team that I have rooted for or have a fandom to. So that was just one of the things.
I think that's a good point to make. And I think that I would want people to know that, there is being a fan and just rooting, and the Bills are winning now. So it's not difficult to be positive about this team. But, if you're a fan of the Bills, you don't want a bunch of fans covering them. You want to know what's going on. It doesn't mean you have to be overly negative. And look, it's better for us. It's enjoyable. We like the people we deal with, but we're going to be honest with you about the team. And sometimes if you're a fan around the team, I think you look at things a little differently.
Well, that's the thing is that I've always told people, I joke around. I call a circle, a square, a square, especially when I started covering this team at Rex Ryan's last year. I was like, they're a bad football team. And a lot of my friends, guys I went to college with, all said, well, like, it's not fair that you get to cover the team that, they root for and have season tickets for. I was like, I cover the Bills the same way I would have covered the Browns or the Patriots or the Jaguars. Like, I just am asking the questions. And like, again, our job is better. Like Mike said, you guys like our content more when they win. We see the views. You guys watch more of our stuff when the Bills win. You're more interested in hearing us talk about the team when they win. So I just wanted to clear that up. It's one of those things where I was like, I'm a diehard Braves fan. Yeah.
By the way,
I teared up. Yeah, I did.
John says John wrote in there, I like Mike. I thought it said we're from the same area. It said we're from the same era. So welcome there, John.
Also, Mike Rodak getting in on this show is
really.
I did not expect Rodak to get in on this show.
You know what? In fairness to Rodak, he was covering a bad team.
He was.
He
covering
also. A bad team. Well, yes, but it was a bad team at the time.
Yeah.
So I give him a little bit there.
Okay.
But
Jenna, how much time in this next block?
It's going to be 4 minutes.
All right.
4 minutes, and then the last block is 3:30.
So I will. I'll set up the piece here.
Yes.
Okay.
Hold on. Let me start my timer. I hate timing the show. It's the worst.
This
you put the person who's the worst at math. I overlooked this. Okay. Thanks for staying with us, folks. In 3, 2. Welcome back to Buffalo Plus, presented by Connors and Ferris. The Bills getting ready to face off against the Jags. And Mike, we've now in week 9 in the NFL season, we've heard a lot of similar phrases over these last couple of weeks. A little cliche city for the Bills, huh?
Yeah. Look, I've heard a lot of similar phrases and cliches over the last 3 decades interviewing players. And there's always different ones. And it starts to stick with you because you start to hear them a little bit. And there's been one we've been hearing a lot from the players, and they use it in different ways, either to begin a sentence, to end a sentence, to make a point, to basically hold off until they have something to say. So we figured you might want to hear, while the Bills players always are focused on the end of the day.
I think that at the end of the day,
we just got to make the necessary plays to win games at the end of the day.
I mean, you could say that.
At the end of the day, we didn't get the job done. I didn't get the job done.
Yeah, it was, initially, but at the end of the day,
at the end of the day, I see.
So, a lot of shoulda, coulda, wouldas, but at the end of the day,
just like those are the things at the end of the day that win games.
At the end of the day, we had probably the most value that we could get for him, and
whatever it is, but at the end of the day, like I said, we score points.
At the end of the day, it's football. Everybody's going to have a little bit of anxiety. That's normal.
Yeah, that was a good time. But yeah, we're thank you guys.
Yeah, I think Josh explained it pretty well there at the end. Do you see what I mean? The way it's used? Like, Daboll paused and went in on the end of the day. Jordan Poyer sort of threw it in there in the middle of a sentence. It depends on the guy.
But
I like it.
I was to say, it's a popular phrase for sure.
Oh, it is.
End of the day.
It's very popular in the locker room, which brings me to my mic drop on this. And it's about cliches. And it goes back to what you guys were talking about in the beginning when we were talking about Josh Allen being on national TV and not giving any sound bites. The interesting thing was, in Tom Brady's week, he started making fun of defensive players and made some jokes. Tom Brady never gives anyone anything. Then he goes on the Manningcast and he starts talking about how simple it is to play defense. You're like a dog chasing a car. And then he proceeds to go out and get beaten up by the Saints and throw 3 interceptions. And I think it can happen. And the reason I bring up cliches is I, as a reporter, don't want those cliches. I appreciate when we get a Stephon Diggs who gives you honest answers. But when it comes time to talk about the opponent, do you know why they give cliches? They do it because if they actually said anything to us, we would make a big deal about it, and so would everybody else. And that's why it happens. You cannot say anything let alone in a normal reporting circumstance or in any other setting, that doesn't become a thing. So players hold back. That's what Josh Allen does. Josh Allen's got a great personality. He just doesn't bring it out when we ask him, what do you think of the Jaguars defense? They're great. They're great. They're an NFL team. We got to watch out. That's what they say because it feeds the machine. And it may not be great and it may not be what we all want, but I kind of get why we get the cliches.
Because at the end of the day, I'll never forget one of my favorite guys I ever talked to. I know we got to go to break. Was Nikel Roby Coleman, and I remember we asked him one time about who the Patriots. It was a game Brady was out, and he went Jimmy Garoppolo, and he didn't know how to say Jimmy Garoppolo's name, and he went he's good, and that was the extent of his soundbite about a young Jimmy Garoppolo because he didn't want to say anything that would come across mean.
No, that's very true. They're protective of what they say and for a good reason. But hey, we do want to talk. We got to talk to Greg Connors, a sponsor of the show, about his thoughts on the upcoming game because we're going to have our picks and predictions coming up. We also talked to him about the Manningcast jinx and if he thinks Josh Allen will lose this week after appearing on the Manningcast.
When people do things like that, they get distracted from their preparation. And they kind of get caught up in the hoopla of who they are because they're on a popular program and they're part of that in crowd now. If there's somebody that can break the jinx, it's Josh Allen because he doesn't seem to get caught up in all that hoopla of, Peyton Manning's son's favorite football player is Josh Allen. I mean, he kind of just rolls with it. And I think the Bills are going to win like 45-7 or 45-0.
And for Buffalo. And coming up after the break, we're going to have our picks and predictions. Also, we'll have Dan Fetes' best bets. We'll have that coming up as Bills take on the Jags. I couldn't stop. Hold on. So bad. Also,
do we have any time left?
Also, sidebar. I don't know, for all our very loyal viewers out there, could you guys hear the train horn outside my window? That was a little throwback.
Yeah.
I moved and the train horn has
followed you. I hear the dog barking. It's Winnie. Winnie knows you're around, Jenna, because Winnie barks when you're around.
I was going to say, my girl. All right.
Yeah.
5:30. Hold on. Let me do my math. Put on my math hat.
Yeah, Greg was big on I actually did like, because we had the conversation about Greg Connors about Josh in that, and we talked a little bit before he said that about what it means sort of to the team. But he also brought up the idea of Josh is the star, but it doesn't play that way in that locker room. He's respected, he's liked, but he doesn't play himself as that guy, but he is that guy. I mean, we know that. And I don't get the feeling that it's the false modesty. I think he's a guy who enjoys being a good teammate. And I think that's a big thing because right now this team is very together.
Yeah.
Well, and again, there's well documented, him obviously growing up, his humble beginning, all of the recruiting things. But I even think it goes back to, it was one of the things when I talked to his head coach back at Wyoming. And I talked to his 2 years ago when I did the story on how he was found in Firebaugh. And they said that Josh had the really good year his sophomore year when he kind of put himself on the map in Wyoming. And then he went back, and that was a team that had like 5 NFL players that got drafted. And for a team in the Big Sky or Mountain West, whatever they're in, that was a big deal. And when he came back for his junior year, a lot of those guys left, and then there was injuries. Josh was one of the injuries, and he had a bad year. And he knew he was going to probably go to the draft, all of those things, Mike. But he played in the famous Idaho Potato Bowl.
Yeah.
And his coaches were like, dude, you don't have to play. Like, you're going to go to the NFL. Like, don't worry about playing. And for him, it meant a lot just to play. And you talk about like him being it's not fake. Like, I just think that's who he is.
Yeah.
And I think he enjoys, like you said, being that good teammate.
And by the way, if you're like my family, we get around the table and turn the TV on for the Idaho Potato Bowl every year. I mean, it is
big time.
It is big. It is a huge game.
Is that the one where they dump the French fries?
Yes.
That's my kind of bowl game.
Yeah, I was just going to say, going right to the food.
That is Oh, someone said it's the Bills train horn.
Yeah. Wait a minute. Don't the Patriots have one of those too? What do they have? They got something annoying.
Oh, I don't know what I did.
I clicked it. I got it.
Oh, okay. All right. For this final block, we'll have 1:10.
Oh,
okay.
So
Real quick.
Dan,
go to Dan right away.
Yeah.
That and then my pick for the game.
Yep.
All right.
And I'll do this when we have 15 seconds left.
See how everybody gets to
know.
know.
Sweating it out because you guys both don't shush your mouth.
See how mean she is to us?
Literally during the first segment, I was like, wow, they're just still talking.
I thought that too, Jenna. I was like, I'm still talking.
Need a cliche horn. I like that. We could
Okay.
have that.
All right. In 3, 2. Welcome back to Buffalo Plus Live. The Bills getting ready for the Jags. But Dan, let's start with you. Best bets for this upcoming weekend.
Yeah, I haven't been great. Self-admitted, hand up. But I like the Bengals this week, -2.5, bouncing back after that bad Jets loss. They're playing the Browns. A lot of troubles, injuries going on there. I like the Bengals laying only 2.5 at home.
All right.
As for the Bills game, I think they blow this one out 33-6. And I think one of those field goals may be a sad field goal in the fourth quarter because Urban's a bad coach.
A little who cares points later. I also have the Bills winning this one. No surprise. I have them winning this one 31-14. I think this is a Bills team that will outmatch Jacksonville. And I think they have more talent and should show that on the scoreboard Sunday.
Yeah.
Mike, what about you?
I'm going to have the same score I had last week. I like this score, 38-13, Bills to win. I would have liked to see it against the Dolphins. They win. We get Trubisky time in the fourth quarter.
All right, the Bills getting ready. They're 14-point favorites on Sunday. For all of your Bills coverage, please be sure to subscribe to the Buffalo Plus channel on YouTube. Dan and I in first place, Mike in third place in terms of our predictions. We'll have plenty more coverage on the Buffalo Plus YouTube channel. For Mike Catalana and Dan Fetes, I'm Jenna Cottrell. Thank you so much for watching Buffalo Plus.
All right, good. We got a lot of comments on here. Thanks to everybody who was on here tonight.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
Did it.
Stop talking, Dan.
Yeah. Hey, that's better than the one guy, Matthew, that said he hated every time I talked.
That was pretty funny.
Rick liked the inside look at the broadcast. Yeah, Jenna gave the whole look, even her countdowns.
That's true. Dan, you should post that the 3, 2, 1. I think people would like that.
Yeah.
You literally, I feel like everyone watching, like you truly saw what a broadcast is like.
This was behind the scenes of the Buffalo Plus cast.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. The bickering is probably turned down for today.
Yes, we were trying to be nice.
No, well, let's talk about it because we didn't have a lot of time on the broadcast. But you guys will be headed down to Jacksonville.
Yep.
You get ready for. What do you expect? Like, I know we had to kind of breeze through what we were talking about in terms of our predictions, but Mike, what do you think for Sunday?
I was thinking back, even though the players didn't want to talk about it, I was thinking back to 2017 when they made that playoffs. Like, we had been in Miami, came back, and here we are going to Jacksonville. And that team was not a very good Bills team. It really wasn't. And Jacksonville was good. We didn't know they were that good, but they were good. And the Bills, they hung in there. It was an ugly game. And they couldn't score. Jacksonville's defense was really tough. But you were almost like, the Bills got in the playoffs. That's what you wanted. And then that was it. Now they go down there as a model franchise. It's one thing to hear other teams say, oh, we like this guy, that guy. But when they say that's the kind of build, one of the best builds, I do agree with Urban Meyer on one thing. The Bills have been that kind of build of a franchise. They're vastly superior. Last week, not being crisp, not playing well, I think they come out a little less distracted on the road. I think sometimes at home you want to put on a show. I think they just go there and take care of business. I really do think it's a dominant performance. Yeah. And I can't even map out a way for Jacksonville to win the game. And the Bills would really have to just mail it in and turn the ball over a ton. And I don't think that's happening.
Yeah.
They're just different classes. Like they really are. Like, I know I can't remember who it was. Maybe it was Diggs just saying like, oh, they get paid too. And we heard more cliches about, they're any given Sunday, all that stuff. Yeah. I just don't think there's any Sunday that the Jaguars beat the Bills this week. You talk about from top to bottom, the way the organization is run, the perception, their actions, all are completely different. One's on the right end of the spectrum, one is on the wrong end of the spectrum, and somewhere in the middle, Trevor Lawrence is trying to keep his head above water as they rearrange the deck chairs on the Titanic that is the Jaguars franchise. Like, that's all they're waiting to do. So, and I thought it was very telling, Mike, when you talked to the guy from Jacksonville, just to say, like, we've had some bad times and bad games. That was really bad last week.
Yeah. And you know what they basically say?
Sorry, I had to highlight that comment.
That's good.
That's really good.
Very good at the end of the day. Is the disorganization by the Jags. They just look like they're, and it's a bit where they're all going in different directions. And I was a little surprised they didn't make some trades to get rid of players, but honestly, they don't have a lot. They really don't. And I don't, who knows what's going to happen, but I think it's going to take a real massive change. You would be thinking, bring in a guy like Urban Meyer.
Yeah.
Instead, he's there. And, when Doug Marrone does a better job than you, and he did do a much better job there.
Yeah.
I mean, he got him to within, man, if he had any guts, they would have been in the Super Bowl. He played it tight then, for Jags fans. And by the way, Jenna, you know this from some of the places we've been. Dan knows this. It's starting to become a little like they don't care as much, and they just know there's going to be a ton of fans. I don't know how many Bills fans are making the trip this weekend, but I do know that Jags fans have kind of, given up on this team.
Well, I feel like when you look at it, when you talk to Chris Porter, a local reporter down in Jacksonville, he said that there's been one winning season, and that was 2017 in his 13 years. And to look at where the Bills are at now under Sean McDermott, all those things, it's like, it's actually really funny to me because I feel like it's like the example of people using Josh Allen of like, look at, he just keeps getting better, where it's like, there's a lot of work that goes into building a franchise like Buffalo, and it doesn't happen. It's like the Josh Allen example of like, I know you use that as like, well, this to happen. It's like, it takes a lot of things for that to all go right. And a little bit of luck too.
It does. It takes all those things, and it takes, much like this show this evening, takes great planning and precision.
Thank you.
Jenna ran it like Jenna.
You guys should have seen when you could see like the sound bites and everything up. I was like trying to get everyone on the same page.
It was also, it's funny too. You talk about just the Jags, that it wasn't that long ago that they were a team that would bully teams around, whether it was the swagger of Jalen Ramsey, say what you want about Blake Bortles, Leonard Fournette, Calais Campbell. Like, they were a mean defense that you didn't want to mess with. They beat the Patriots. Did they beat the Patriots? That was the one.
No, they lost to the Patriots in that AFC Championship game, and they had the lead on them. Yeah,
they blew out the Steelers. That
them
was
out.
About like this was a team that it's not like you can be like, oh, back when Mark Brunell took that, they were good recently and went so downhill so fast.
By the way,
where they have flown past, they are Houston Texans trajectory into irrelevancy in the NFL.
Yeah. But if you look at the Texans, well, there's a lot of reasons for that. Houston's already, Jacksonville's tried to make that turn, get in the quarterback and get in the coach, and it's not working. By the way, Jacksonville does have a history with the Bills. I mentioned 17. Also, Jim Kelly's final game with the Bills was a loss to Jacksonville in a playoff game in Orchard Park. I was there for that one. And they beat him up. They knocked Jim out of the game. And Jacksonville, by the way, also was the team that destroyed the Miami Dolphins in Dan Marino's last game.
Oh, wow.
So Jacksonville does have a history. They were an expansion team that came in and quickly elevated. And Tom Coughlin was the coach, and they were really, they've had a pretty good franchise history for their limited amount of time. But right now, man, it is rough.
Yeah, no, it certainly is. There are a couple questions.
Yes.
That, that's
shout out, Alex.
Nice.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you, Alex. Very nice.
That was a question. Yeah, the running game. Jenna, I think we talked about it on Sunday. I know some people disagreed, shocking with something I said. But it was just the fact that I really think that Zach Moss needs to get more of the lion's share of snaps. I think the offense flows, runs better, is more complete when he's in the game. And I think Devin Singletary has shown that he's the change of pace guy to Zach Moss.
That's a good point, Dan. I agree with you. I do think it's funny. We talk about this a lot. Last year, everything seemed to just go easy for the offense. And this year, everything's been, while they've had good moments, it's been a bit of a struggle. And I do believe that's why Daboll was looking to try to run the ball a little bit last week to combat a little bit of what Miami was doing and getting them out of their defense, but also get them into a rhythm. And I think it would work a little better with a main back and using him, not a ton of carries, but using him in a little more of a not predictable way, but a set way that they know what they're getting.
Well, and that's the thing, is that Moss is the better in pass protection. He's the better catcher out of the backfield. He's better. I think he runs a little bit harder. He's got more size. Like, all of those things seem to get better going. The screen game is better with Moss because he does pass protect. Like he's just a more complete back. And they really have split them 50-50, eerily close in snap percentages. And I think that I'm not saying people are going, I'm not saying don't run the ball more. I'm saying if you're going to run the ball 20 times, I want Moss to get 15 carries and I want Singletary to get 5 instead of it being 10 and 10.
Yeah.
I agree.
And look, the offensive line's an issue right now. I mean, you guys were at practice, and seeing the things, Spencer Brown, who had looked all right, they've moved other guys around, meaning Brown with his injury. Like, they're not right. It's not a bad time to be getting Dolphins, Jags, and Jets.
Correct.
Trying to get this line together. So, and we'll see the Jets tonight, and we'll see if the Mike White thing goes past 1 week.
I can't wait. I saw Mina Kimes' tweet that was like, let's all watch Mike White as a family.
Yeah. Good.
I thought that was perfect, but no. Thanks everyone for hanging with us. We've had this is always fun. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoy our stuff. Has 1,000 hairstyles. Oh, thank you for the hairstyle compliment.
Somebody's talking about my hair.
Yeah, talking about yours, of course.
Yeah.
But no, well, we have a lot of fun with this, and we always appreciate all the viewership. So thanks so much for watching. And we'll have plenty more coverage on the Buffalo Plus channel. Be sure to check it out on YouTube. Thanks so much. We will see you all later. Bye.